Hi everybody. Hello. Namaste everyone. My name is Panisthi Vora and I'm the co-founder of TheKreativeToli. Before we start, I would like to just raise a moment of silence for all the victims of COVID-19 and the Vizag victims and also for Mother Earth. So as we wait for others to join, let's just all observe a moment of silence. Okay, so let's start. But before that, I just want to ask everybody: can everybody hear me clearly? If you can, just put up so I know everything's working. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let me just start by introducing the Creative Toli. The Creative Toli is a Desi creative industry network. It is a platform, it's a free platform for creative professionals and freelancers to collaborate with other creative peers and clients to work on work projects or even passion projects and create as a community and a network. You can you can sign up on our website for free to know more, and also check out our blog for more details about all the ticketeers that we have featured on. So we have Havovi on live. So I'm just gonna introduce her and get her on the live. So Havovi Hyderabad wala is she's the co-founder of Mind Mandala and a psychologist and a forensic psychologist. Here she is. She has almost a decade of experience and is also she's also like a lecturer in several schools and colleges in Mumbai. So Havovi, hi, and if you could just explain to everybody a little bit more in detail of what you do and what Mind Mandala is about and stuff.
Sure. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay, awesome. So I'm Havovi Hyderabadwala. I'm the co-founder of Mind Mandala. I myself am a clinical and forensic psychologist. I have about, as you mentioned, almost a decade of experience. And what Mind Mandala does is multi-pronged. We're sort of a one-stop shop for psychological services. So we're into teaching, we're into consultations, we're into rehabilitation, we're into psychotherapy, and we're into testing. So clinical testing to figure out if someone has issues or doesn't issues, things like that. So so that's pretty much in a nutshell of
That's awesome. It's such a nice. It's such a need of the hour as well. So it's really cool. Also, yeah. So now coming back to our topic on mental health. So can you just please give us all like a small idea of what exactly mental health is? Because I feel there's a lot of misconception around this topic. So something to just clear up everything.
So, in a very lay person, sort of something for everyone to connect, I would say mental health includes emotional, psychological, and social well-being. All right, it's basically how you think, how you feel, how you act with your surroundings, with yourself, right? And all of these are contributed sort of thanks to your biology, through your life experiences, and obviously genetics, your family history, and it's the nature nurture debate that we have.
Right. So coming to India now, do you think in India we are as evolved to tackle a subject like this, especially with younger crowds where there's so much creativity around and everyone's always searching for role models and creative inspiration everywhere. So
right. So what I think that India is still neo-nascent when it comes to mental health. Times have definitely changed. I'm not going to be pessimistic about it. In fact, a lot of the younger generation has realized how important mental health is. So they're the ones that have been coming more so than, the much older generation, which is sort of slightly rigid, not very flexible. They think, things will pass, or it's a fashion, or it's a fad. We've literally had people coming in and talking about those sort of things. So what I feel with respect to, let's say, Gen X, Gen Y, they're slightly more open, they're slightly more receptive. They have been coming in. I'm sort of, let's say, private practice. So we have quite a few people coming in that way, which is really nice to see. It's great to see that. So it's happening. It's neo-nascent. It's small, but it's moving forward, and that's what really counts.
That's true. That's very true. So, in coming together in the topic of moving forward and this sort of generation, I'm sure a lot of people listening are around this whole like in part of these generations. So, what would you say? So let's start with our first topic of discussion.
Sure.
So, yeah, what is mental strength, and like how do you be more resilient? Like what's the secret?
Right. So, slightly cliched, but the secret lies within you, right? Everyone's born with sort of, if you look at it biologically, there is a school of thought called epigenetics, which believes that everyone's born with the same sort of tools. And it's how you are nurtured and brought up in a particular environment, including yourself, that makes you a more resilient person, which makes you a more strong person. Resilience, resilience by itself is what? It is your ability to bounce back, right? You may not be the same person when you bounce back, but the fact that you bounce back and you're moving forward again is what really counts. So when we talk about mental strength, everyone has a different set. You need to identify what you are good at, what are your strengths, what are your things that you sort of need to work on. Let's not call it weaknesses, but you sort of have to get it from different places, even if you can't find it within yourself. Right? So which is also a part of what we're going to talk about today, which is also networking and social support, which is very important. And mental strength, obviously, right now in this very situation, in these times, it's difficult. I'm not going to lie to everybody or sugarcoat it. It's very difficult to be strong in situations like this. There's so many anxieties, there's so much of fear that is going around, and the fact of not knowing what tomorrow is going to look like, it is definitely unnerving. So we have to use what we have, right? I think everyone's takeaway from today sort of is going to be that you need to reinvent yourself. You cannot get away with the fact of saying that this is who I am, this is how I am, sort of take it or leave it. Everybody has to now reinvent. You have to go out of your comfort zone. You need to find what's good for you, what's going to work for you. You need to learn to adapt. Adapting is going to define your success, how you're going to move forward.
Right. Yeah, that's very important actually, and something that I also feel like, I've started to do a little bit, adapting to situations, trying to figure out how to like get by, basically. Yeah. So coming to that whole adapting and, this whole time, you also mentioned having a support group, right? So how do you think having a positive impact, like a positive support network, or how would it impact us as creatives? Like, how important is it to have something like this?
So, since our main focus is the creative community, I just want to say that there are certain things that we have seen differently. We have a lot of people coming into our office, and what we've seen is that there are certain things that are definitely different about this population, right? Which also research will show you that creative people are slightly more hypersensitive in nature, right? They're slightly more open when it comes to their emotions. Okay, they're also slightly more volatile in nature, right? I'm sure that this time is very, very, very difficult, especially for the creative population, because uh, energies are very, very big. Your mental energies, your personal energies are very, very big. You're always on the run. You're trying to find, sort of. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, one sec.
And time. So you've always been on the move. You've always been connecting, right? Now you're going to have to reconnect very, very differently. Right? People in, which is very, very difficult for a lot of people who, are sort of British. So reinventing is on top of the agenda. There was something very interesting that I was reading, that you can have a support system of two types, right? One is a very instrumental support system that you have, which is basically catering to your physical needs, right? To, whoever's in the environment, to making food and providing and things like that. When there's another one, which is informational support system, right? Networking is very important at this point in time. You need to put yourself out there. I know there are a lot of creative people who find it very hard to network, which is why they have somebody else doing it for them. We need to sort of put tiny, tiny footsteps ahead and move forward in that direction. And you need to use whatever resources that you have. So having someone with informational support would be very, very good. You need to sort of see who is doing what, how can you adapt, and you also incorporate a similar system to them. Who are they talking to? Can they help you get in touch with, other people? Sort of like what Creative Toli is doing, right? That's also what you do, that you all help each other within the community, and you see who can do what work and where you can use people's specialities and their specializations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very true. Yeah. So even I myself, I'm really grateful to have a good support system, because you not only learn about different people's perspective on things, it's also just knowing someone has your back, or just someone's there, is a great positive booster. And obviously we know that it's vice versa, right? So it works both ways. So
correct. And also, if you have people on, let's say, the same wavelength, it's just so much easier to speak to, right? Like if I am talk to, let's say, for example, if I have to talk to someone for advice in my field, right, I am going to go to a senior person. I'm not really going to go to someone out of my field, so that they give me better guidance. And they also have the empathy for it, right? I'm able to connect with you where you are, at what point you are in, what your dilemma is. It's just way better that way.
Yeah, definitely. Very true. Very true. So coming now to the next topic, after having a good support system, as you mentioned, is very important. Now in these times, it's a little tricky, because everyone's not as connected as they used to be, at least in the physical sense. So, and it's something I feel that we're gonna have to get used to, because this is gonna be the new normal, as they say. So how do you feel like the new normal is gonna impact, like creative work, creative, talking, meeting with people, and just in general about how we're all gonna have to adapt to this situation as creatives mainly?
Right. So as creatives mainly, what I want to say is, again, start looking at platforms that you are comfortable with. It is going to be a very techie digital time, and that's what we have to our advantage. Like, we also have to think about where we've come from, right? This is not the first time the world is seeing a pandemic, And back in the day, we did not even have as much as we do right now. So we really, really need to count our blessings and try to see the light within all this that is happening amongst us, right? So it would ideally, I would say that it's going to be difficult. For example, let's just take artists who put their work out into studios. It is going to be difficult for them to sort of do things very, very differently now. They're used to making art which fits, it's befitting for a studio, right? They're going to have to sort of change. And that by itself is very unsettling for artists, that you're going to have to sort of uproot how you're doing things. And art is something very, very personal. So how you're going to adapt is going to definitely be difficult. Support system kicks in at this point. Networking kicks in at this point. Read. Be informed about what your options are, what is available. I know that the lockdown at some point is going to get relaxed. Not everything possibly, but see where you could possibly put things out for yourself. So it's also about being extremely informed. And my request to everybody who's logged in is that, the sort of information that we're taking in at this point is going to affect our mental health a lot. So try not binging on tons and tons of media which is negative in nature. There's a lot of responsible media that is going around, which is very supportive and helpful in nature. Get in touch with those things. Make sure the information that you are consuming is the right information. So I think I come from that spot.
I totally agree. I mean, like at home, like given an example, like our parents, for example, are always on WhatsApp or, watching the news, and there's so much media and there's so much to take in that now you need to like actually research to see what's right or wrong. And then it just affects everybody's mental state. You're just like, okay, what do I even believe now?
So correct, because the thing is that it's also so negative in nature, and since we're in quarantine, it's just easy to hook onto a lot of negative stuff, because negative stuff is just so much easier to go down. Right? Unfortunately, being relaxed and in your negative space is just so much easier, unfortunately. And being happy is a lot of work. It does take a lot of work. It does take a lot of consistency on everyone's part. So be very, very mindful of what you are taking in at this point. You have the luxury of, not a frontline worker. Yes, you are affected. Our frontline workers are constantly engaging with that environment, and they don't have control. You have control, right? And that's your luxury at the point, that you have control. What you are doing, how you're doing, that is what we have. That is our responsibility. So being extremely mindful of it is very, very important.
That's true. I mean, I'm like grateful every day for like having the luxury to be at home and to get food at 3 meals a day, and have all the facilities available to myself. And even like there's so many creative people who are who probably have moved their houses, or people who aren't living at home, and there's like the whole support system, as you said, is quite difficult when you live alone and when there's nobody around. So all of that is like a really I don't know how to say it, but like a really big impact on your mental health, I guess.
It is. It definitely.
Do you have any like tips or techniques on like how to like curb your head from, I don't know, just like not going astray or something like that? Any like focusing or something?
Right. So the thing that we are sort of seeing as mental health practitioners is a lot of cabin fever, as you call it. You're in this space. Some people don't have the luxury of having many rooms. They literally live in a room. So what I'm going to say is that have some sort of discipline, right? Some sort of discipline that your day is sort of going to flow like this, which is very, very hard. It is definitely hard, especially when there's so much of freedom right now to sleep when you want, wake up when you want, do things when you want, right? But we also, let's just be slightly optimistic and say the world might open at any point. We don't know. Yes, near future, see, but make it easy for yourself when it is going to happen. So try and wake up at a similar time. Definitely, everybody needs to engage in some form of exercising. Okay, exercising is very important. It releases a certain amount of endorphins in the system, which gives you a really good kick in the beginning of your day. Your hormones right now. Keep regular checks on your mood. What you eat is very, very important. Please don't starve. Try and eat 5 small meals or like 3 meals at least. Be mindful of what you are putting in your system. I know this is very difficult for a lot of people, but meditation really, really works. It genuinely works. There are a lot of people who are like, oh, but I can't still sit. And that's a real issue with a lot of people. For those people, I would say YouTube has a lot of different guided meditations, and that works for a lot of people who are unable to sort of focus. So go on, try and find something over there. The other thing that I would say is that be in touch with people. Please don't isolate yourself. We're already going through quarantine, which is hard enough. So make an effort. Get in touch with people you've not spoken to in a while, or just, reconnect with your people. Have like your general knit group that you've always been a part of. Keep in touch. Keep in touch. It's really important. It will keep you going, is what I'm going to say. And there are some other activities that, we suggest to a lot of people, not just our creative community, but what really helps is for those people who have access to plants, for example, please engage in gardening. Do other things as well. Yes, you're a creator, you may be an artist, you may be a writer, but there are also things that you've wanted to explore. Please explore those avenues as well. You might have to also be very flexible with what you are going to do. It's not always that you're going to have, let's say a show to prep for. So in that time, we also have to keep in mind the financial aspect of things. We're going to continue paying basic bills at least. So you're going to have to figure out how you're going to keep yourself afloat. So don't restrict yourself to just, let's say, your art. Expand. Be open, expand, see where you could sort of find an opportunity which is really, really important and it keeps you going. Just for sort of inspiration, my father is an architect. Just as your mom is also an artist, I understand. My father's an architect and he's sort of semi-resigned, but, being Parsi and all, we work till we sort of it. And he is 75 years old. He suffers from Parkinson's, but his enthusiasm for his work is absolutely undying. And just for the fun of it, he would doodle every day. And we sort of stumbled upon a competition on Instagram, which is actually being held in Italy. And he has sort of taken it up and he's prepping for this, this competition, and he's taking it forward. So you have to find yourself these sort of projects to keep yourself going, right? And it keeps you alive. You wake up and there is something to go to. And that's what we're looking for. You love something that you do. They say that you do what you love what you do. It keeps you inspired, keeps you dedicated, keeps you going. And there needs to be some amount of discipline. There needs to be some amount of discipline in what you're doing, because that consistency is going to work for you at the end of the day.
Right.
So, unfortunately, we may not always be able to work for money, but we can, if we love what we're doing, enough, it'll inspire us to sort of go out there and do something related to it.
Yeah, very true. That's so true. I mean, like what you said about, just having that discipline. I've seen this myself now is so important, because the minute your sleep cycle's ruined, or just like not followed your this thing, your the next entire day goes completely.
Yeah.
I at least
And
my experience is not the way.
what I'm going to suggest a lot is that give yourself the flexibility. It's a hard time. You need to be really patient with yourself. You have to be kind with yourself. Things are not the same, and we need to sort of accept that. Right? So if you're feeling fearful, if you're feeling anxious, if you can't see what tomorrow has in store for you, speak, get the help. There are professionals out there waiting for you to give a call and say, I want to talk about this. I want some sort of, way forward. Can you help me? It lies in your hands. And my advice to adults per se is going to be that, you can create yourself task lists. You don't have to create.
Yeah, I think we lost you for a second. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, so I'm just going to repeat myself. So what I'm saying is that for especially for adults, what I would suggest is that create tables for yourselves and not necessarily timetables. It gives you the flexibility of doing what you want to do, with a certain ease. It's hard enough to adapt to something new. So don't be like 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. It's almost unreal at a certain point and you're going to give up on it. Give yourself a little flexibility and be like, okay, we're going to do this. Let's see how we're going to take it forward. And I think the best way to do things right now is literally one day at a time. That's the biggest takeaway at this point. We cannot be like 18th May, 17th May, what's going to happen, what's going on.
You never know.
We're just going to have to do this literally one day at a time because things are changing. We know very little about the virus at hand. We know very little about a lot of things. So we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, but we know that right now we are in our space and what we have is at our disposal, right? How we react, how we respond, how we take to things is what we have in our power. We can't necessarily affect everything, but what we do, we can definitely be in charge of that.
Definitely. So true. This is like such good advice. Like it's something I relate to so much. So when you're like giving all this advice, I can actually, I'm secretly making notes on the side because because I need to like keep mindful of this and remember all of this for the next for tomorrow or today, every day. And so in respect to discipline and doing new things, there's a lot of people who may suffer from lack of motivation, or just people who don't want to do anything, or they just have lost their will to create, or even like if they're like not as they feel like they aren't as creative as they were, or they feel unproductive. So what do you what would you say would be okay, actually wait, how do you recommend you to keep the creativity alive? That motivation, or just have inspiration constant.
Right. So I think there are two sets of people here. There are those that sort of have work. They have people to sort of report to, an authority figure and things like that. They're the working people. They're probably working right now as well. What really works is sometimes incubation. You don't always have to go at your work. You can take a little downtime. Like what we recommend in any sort of work actually is that a 20-minute break, go do something else, think about something else. Maybe you want to play a game, maybe you want to listen to your favorite song, maybe you want to look at something else in nature, sort of give yourself that time out and come back. That is quite helpful, because your brain can only go to that much, and then it sort of reaches a threshold. And then beyond that, sometimes it just becomes very, very unproductive. Right? So we don't want that. So it's okay to take a break. This is something that, we should have been taught in school, that it's okay to take a break and you don't have to study 6 subjects all in the same day. God, right? This is grassroots level sort of training. But as you grow older, you realize that taking breaks makes you definitely slightly more productive. right?
Yeah, I relate. Totally, yeah.
What I suggest for the ones who are, freelancers who work at their own time, have their own projects, or may not have their projects, I think that it's important to go beyond what your focus is to learn about new things as well that creatively inspire you. Like, how am I going to take, let's say, XYZ and make it mine and make it a part of my field?
Yeah.
Never knew, or we would never think that sort of, let's say, mental health or physical health would go online, but technology made it happen. And that happened because there were people who sat, they brainstormed, they thought about it and said, how can we make this ours? Because there are people that need the help, that are out there, they don't have constant access. So what do we do? How do we do? Right? So it also helps to go beyond what, let's say, your expertise is. It genuinely sort of helps you and inspires you. And I think talking to your mentors definitely sort of helps. It definitely helps. I know that there's certain people who've logged in who've been a part of my dad's organization, and even today I think they look back and they talk about my dad and him being a boss, and how they would also go for advice and they would debate, like have an ideating space, have an ideating room. That also really helps. How can we take this to the next level, right? That's important, and that dialogue is important. That conversation is really important. So keeping creativity alive, I think those are the things sort of we could do.
Right. I totally agree with you. In fact, this is kind of what we want to talk about with the Creative Toli as well. Like, we want people to collaborate with as different creative fields as possible. You get to learn so much from other people and then get inspired by what, they're doing and try and, work towards your own creative space. Like, we want to encourage collaboration between as many different creatives as possible and just have everybody constantly just engage with someone. Like, you don't have to collaborate. Even connecting with somebody of a different field can be so inspiring to learn about their journey. And we just want to like promote that, because we believe at Creative Toli that creativity is never finished, or like you can never lose it. Like the more you use it, the more it gets replenished back. So we want to that ideology is something that we are trying, we ourselves follow, and we want others to follow as well.
Right. And I think it's good to know what other people are doing as well, right? So, teamwork is really important now. You need to know the sort of, let's say, job description, or how XYZ person can contribute to what you are doing, and how can it be better. Collaboration is genuinely the way forward in this space, in this particular time, right now. And there's a very beautiful quote by Ratan Tata, which is basically, if you want to, walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, you walk together. And I think that goes a really long way.
That's so good. Yeah, that's such a good line. Wow. That's really nice. Okay, so now that we have a general idea of how to be motivated, do you have any tips or tricks on how to stay focused, or just channelize your energy, or just any sort of methods or ways that you could show us or teach us or talk about?
Okay, so there are things that we could sort of, maybe there's one thing we have a lot of people calling in and saying, we sort of feel anxious in the middle of work, or, we can't focus. So we do a very simple sort of exercise, or we teach them a very simple sort of exercise. And the simple exercise is that, sort of put your feet on the ground. And, if people want to do it while I am engaging in this conversation, they're most welcome to. You put your feet on the ground, sit in a very comfortable position, or sort of go to a space that you are comfortable. And it's called the 5-4-3-2-1 coping technique. So what you do
One
is
second.
that...
Can I just interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
I would recommend everybody watching this to actually go do this right now and then tell us how you felt after doing it, because that would be really nice and it'll just like motivate others on the live to even like do it themselves. So yeah, just continue. Oh, yeah.
So what a good thing is that just sit where you're sitting and just sort of listen to my voice and keep your feet on the ground and just listen to the instructions that I'm going to be giving. So we could just possibly start with like 3 deep breaths where we inhale through our nose and exhale through our mouth. So now just acknowledge 5 things that you can see. You don't have to say them out loud. Just sort of look around and look at 5 things, right? And report them to yourself in your head, right? So it could be, for me, I'm just going to say it out loud. There's a glass, bottle of water, books, plants, the window, the air conditioner. 4 things you can feel, right? Okay. So what is in contact with you? So could be, the clothes on your body, you touching the desk, right? 4 things. 3 things that you can hear. Two things that you could smell. And 1 thing that you can taste. Now is like, again, we take like a deep breath. You sort of now slightly more focused from where you were to a slightly more relaxed space and a slightly more, I'm hoping, into the conversation.
I am definitely feeling more relaxed. This was really good. Wow. I'm going to practice this every day. Definitely. So, a last quick question I wanted to ask you was, this is something I've really wanted to know. And like in these times when, there's like I've read so many articles and, about how negative thoughts impact your state of mind. And, there's a lot of issues around that a lot of it leads to the negative thinking. So how does one not engage in negative thoughts? How?
We initially spoke about how, the sort of material that y'all are taking in should be monitored for sure. I have a lot of friends who are literally staying away from the news. It is important to know, but I also feel that, manage that intake. If you're going to go online to look at, let's say, COVID related things, give yourself a specific, let's say, time. Let's say maybe not more than 20 minutes. If you go to what you would consider responsible media, it would give you a nutshell of where we stand and how we're going to progress, right? Not engaging in negative thoughts is hard at a time like this. If I had to look at it from, let's say, a therapeutic perspective, understand why you are looking at something. All right. The thing is that human beings are slightly head on a stick in nature, right? We know that something might be bad for us or, let's say, give us anxiety, but we still engage in that material. So understand that this is going to trigger you off. Don't engage in it. Take a few steps backwards, right? And just keep it at bay. It's sort of a shift in energy within yourself that, I know that if I'm going to look at the news, it's going to upset me. Or if I'm going to talk to XYZ person, it is going to upset me, right?
So like be more self-aware in a way.
Being more self-aware, yeah, in a much simpler manner. Being more self-aware, definitely. And there is a difference, right? And my partner and I generally, we talk about this, my business partner, that reacting and responding are very, very different. Like right now, especially, when we feel like we're in this sort of pressure cooker, right? We tend to react a lot more. We don't respond. And we know that there are 50 ways of actually tackling a certain situation at times, and we have this, luxury of choosing how we want to behave. Not every time, but many of the times. So I'm going to say that take a step back. If you're, let's say, for example, you're living with a partner, and what is happening is that you all are engaging on fights almost on a daily basis, which is right now ghar ghar ki kahani of sorts, unfortunately. Take a step back and think about how you are going to respond to your partner instead of reacting, screaming, shouting, yelling. Think about how else could you sort of, take things forward. Because if you apply the same formula, if you're going to scream and shout every day and engage in a fight, it's not going to be any different. So think about how you're going to apply a different formula to what is happening, which happens mostly, let's say, every day.
So, like, what is different this time? Like, how am I going to change this daily situation?
Right. It's exactly, it's about responding and not reacting. And again, like I said, if consistency is key, so if you are able to do it consistently, then you will it will become a part of you. It becomes a part of you, and then you won't have to think twice that, okay, take a step back and now say what you want to say. It is a lot of work. It is definitely a lot of work, which is why it would be good to, let's say, have a buddy to talk to and run through conversations, or mental health professionals are always there to help you through it.
Of course, yeah. And you also are there. Mind Mandala, yes. I mean, helping people every day. So we don't have much time left. So I think let's quickly start with the questions. We have a few questions from the audience, which I have noted down. So the question one is, how important does money play a role in relation to not getting work, and can passion projects help mental stability and content?
I think that's very subjective from where I'm looking at it. Maybe you could also sort of reply to this. I think that if there is something that inspires you enough and there is no money behind it, but it's great for your portfolio, I would say do it. Definitely do it. And I mean, if you are getting some sort of remuneration from it, it's a bonus. It's definitely a bonus.
Right.
We cannot negate that, right now finances are at a super crunch, markets are crashing, that's another reason to be up in anxiety. So I think it entirely depends on your need more than anything else. If you have a creative perspective on this, then
I do
please.
Actually, yeah. So I feel that money and getting work is of course hand in hand. I mean, I don't think the money aspect of working, is as important to your mental stability as doing what you like to do. In the sense that if I like the question also says, can passion projects help mental stability? They can definitely help.
Yes, absolutely. So, because they're a great catharsis, and if it's something that sets your soul on fire, right?
Yeah,
that's what we are constantly looking for. And you never know when you're submitting your portfolio, or you're going to some big companies and showing what you've done before. Your passion projects could be something that they actually look at over your commercial project.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Your passion project could lead you to another sort of path that you wouldn't normally do if you wouldn't have done that, and if you're just going after other work. So it's always important to have a passion project on the side. At least that's what all my mentors have told me over the years.
I think it's a great catharsis, because I've also seen a lot of my creative friends struggle with, sort of creating for money. And then there is that project on the side which they absolutely love, and they wish that, things were slightly different on the financial front for them. So, if that's what keeps you going, and if that's what's fueling your energy, I say go for it.
Definitely, I completely agree with you. Okay, so the next one is a lot of collaborators today work between cross creative platforms. So, how do creative egos affect that, and what can be done to overcome that?
Could you repeat that for me?
Yeah, a lot of collaborators today work between cross creative platforms. Like, I could, for example, if we both are working on
Right.
like for the TheKreativeToli, for example, it's a creative collaborative platform. So
Right.
you have a creative ego, I'll have my own creative ego. So how
Right.
does that, when that creative ego clash happens? So how would it affect your work, and how can you overcome something like that? How do you overcome the creative ego?
If I knew. No, just kidding. I think what happens here is that and this is just my perspective, that if the project means, it really does mean something for you. Let's say it means something for you financially, or it means something like a passion project, right? If it has some sort of meaning for you, then it would demand for you to be slightly flexible. And I know that a lot of creative egos, they do clash. There is, what one man's wine is another man's poison, right? So y'all are going to disagree, but I also think that there's a way to communicate and disagree and maybe reach to a sort of midpoint, which might not satisfy everybody, but it would be good if those sort of things happened. Has it happened to you before? Where you've had a creative clash?
It does. It has. I mean, I work a lot with my brother, and he's the co-founder of TKT. So he's actually the original founder, and I'm the co-founder, and we have a creative ego like almost every day. Like we're always like clashing about different things. That because we have a little big age gap, so he has a different perspective on things. I have a different perspective on things. So we always have that, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right. So, we have, that keeps happening every day, but now I've sort of learned how to.
Right. I think the key lies in communicating. Yes, you might think you are right, but then you also have to see what the project needs. Like, if the end goal of the project is to engage people, then how am I going to engage people? Yes, your way seems extremely aesthetic, but that's not fetching enough. So there is going to be a debate, and I think a lot of tiny things matter in sort of communicating. The words that you use, the tone of your voice, what you actually want to say. I do believe that if you are angry, sort of take a time out and come back and sort of reassess the situation and see what you can do and reach a sort of midpoint. And that's what successful relationships and projects are about, that you sort of communicate and reach a sort of a point. Yes, I know, easier said than done, but it's what works. It's what works. Flexibility is key.
Yeah, I'm gonna try this every day now, hopefully, and I'll get back to you with how it goes.
Sure.
Okay, so the next question is, being creative has a lot of uncertainty in terms of profession, work, and even finding inspiration. Besides patience, what other state of mind can one have? Like,
I think patience is definitely the core of things. I do think that if you have the right support system, I want to say support system out here, and that would make a difference. And within the support system, again, it's how you fuel yourself. It's how you fuel yourself. What are you surrounding yourself with? Right? That eventually comes out also in your state of mind and your art. So, which is why we say that, yes, there will be days that you do binge and you watch a lot of negative stuff, but then you have the choice of sort of feeding yourself with many other positive things around you. So I think your state of mind is also going to be affected by what you are consuming and who you are interacting with. So patience being, at the core of it, yes. But again, how you engage, what you do, take forward, the choices that you're making, that will eventually help your creative side.
Right. That's very true. Yeah. I hope this answered everybody's questions. And if anyone has any more questions, please reach out to Mind Mandala or the Creator Toli, and we can reach out to Havovi for you if anything of that sort. And yeah, do you have? So I think we're almost at the end of our life. Do you have anything more that you would like to address that you feel we may have missed out on, or anything about about how to approach?
I think the takeaway from this session that I want to tell everybody is that we need to reinvent ourselves. And that needs to be the focus now. We cannot get away by saying, this is how I am, this is what my art is, and, you're going to be stuck. You will be stuck, My father said something really funny before this live session. He said that if you're going to chase stars and you're going to have to jump trees. And I found a lot of knowledge in that. And I was like, that's really funny. But it does make sense. You're going to have to do things that you've not done before. And it is going to demand that you equip yourself differently. So start learning new things. Baby steps. I know that artists always look for perfection. Please don't be hard about the perfection bit. Think about how you're going to get from, let's say, point A to point B, from point B to point C, and sort of move forward. Right? It's about moving forward. It's okay. You fail, you fall, you get up, you try again, and that's what really matters. That don't give up. Don't give up on it. Move forward, move slowly. That's also fine. Make an effort. Don't not make an effort.
Yes, that's what I wanted to actually add in.
Very important.
That's true.
That's really important.
Even if what you do turns out bad, as long as you've done something, you know how to take it ahead. If you don't do anything, how are you going to move ahead from that? So, that's something that even I've
Take breaks. I mean, a lot of people are, they're very hard about their work. And I understand it in some cases, but some cases allow you the flexibility to take a little downtime and do other things. Don't be stuck to, your machines and things like that. Do other things that internally are healthy for you. So, the basic of good food, exercising, talking to people, there's a chemical reaction to everything you do within your body. So that's really, really important. And that's something that people need to understand.
Right, definitely. That's really good advice. Thank you so much for chatting with us. This has been so insightful. And another last but not the least question is, how does one cope with stress after the lockdown? As the work system or work in general won't be the same. So how would one cope with that?
So it's always good to know what you're going to get into. Be informed, right? And no matter how much information you sometimes do get, actually being in the situation takes a lot of your energy. So going back out into the open is not going to be easy for everybody. People are going to have anxieties and fears that, oh my God, we're finally getting out and we're going to be interacting in malls and theaters, in crowded spaces. There are a lot of people who, by nature are extremely hygienic and extremely clean, and not in a pathological manner, but, it's always on their mind, and it gives them a sort of anxiety that, oh my God, am I getting something from here? Right. I have friends even during this time who are very if we go down, we come back up and we bathe. And there are a lot of people who are very flexible about that. They just wash their hands and their face and their legs. So what I want to say out here is that be informed of where you are going to go. what's a space that you have a lot of green zones, red zones, orange zones. Be informed of where you're going to go, how you're going to go, who are you going to go with, your transportation, take care of your transportation, and just sort of take it in slowly. Don't try to jump right into work, or jump right into projects, or be like, work is coming, so I'll take 10 of it. Don't do that. Ease yourself in, is what I'm going to say. Ease yourself in slowly. If you can't manage a full day at work, get together, talk to your team, think about doing certain hours at work, right? Because it is going to be slightly difficult for a lot of people. So see if your office space or your team has the flexibility of sort of saying, yeah, okay, fine, today we'll come in half day. For 1 week, let's do half day. And then let's sort of start adding on the hours slowly, 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 because now people have gotten into the routines of taking naps in the middle of the day, eating when they want. So my advice is also, just before the lockdown relaxes, start putting yourself into a routine. That is very, very helpful.
Right.
That would be very helpful. So, yeah, and if it's still very, very difficult, talk to buddies, talk to friends, talk to professionals, see what they're doing, see if you can emulate what they're doing, see what works for you. Otherwise, there's always professionals like us who can help you and ease you through it.
Definitely. Okay, so we have 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna conclude now.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Havovi, for coming on board and doing this, especially, just sharing your knowledge with us. This has been so open and insightful. I myself am feeling so inspired to go and create right now.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having Mind Mandala. This is a great platform. I really, truly hope that this has sort of helped people, and a lot of people also feel that psychologists are scary people. So please, there's nothing scary about us. The work we do might be slightly sort of intimidating, but go ahead, approach people. The right person can definitely help you through issues or problems, or big or small, doesn't matter. It's all important to sort.
Definitely. So please, guys, go follow Mind Mandala, and just you can always get in touch with them. They're always, I'm sure, open to giving advice to everybody. And if you could just give your website and your Instagram handle, so it'll be easier for people to
sure. It is should I put it down? Should I just say it? It's Mind Mandala, MINDMANDALA on Instagram, and our website is mindmandala.in. We also have a Facebook page by the same name. So if you could just sort of write it down.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, right. We put it in. And of course, guys, please also follow the TheKreativeToli for such events. And if there's any, if you guys felt we lack somewhere, if there's anything different that we can improve, please write to us, and you can DM us and email us. And also start collaborating, start creating, guys. Join the TheKreativeToli soon.
It's important, guys. Please don't restrict yourselves. And there are a lot of people out there waiting for someone to make the first move, and that's a real apprehension a lot of people have. So just take the plunge, make the first move, have the conversation, see where it goes. Be mindful of who you are going to work with, who you want to collaborate with. It's okay. Take your time, go through it slowly.
As Coldplay said, if you never try, you'll never know. So that's
a good thing to end on.
Yeah. So also, I would just like to end by saying, guys, ये भी ज़रूरी है. Mental health and everything else is very important. So please reach out to everybody and anybody, whoever you're comfortable with, and start collaborating, start creating. And namaste. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.